Hello, this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your comments, and thank you for your thumbs up. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. So today I'm talking about what Black Americans think about Black immigrants. We hear about what especially Africans think about Black Americans. We hear that all the time. What Africans think about Black Americans, what Jamaicans think about Black Americans. Now, Jamaica's about the only ones from the Caribbean that we hear that from, but they've got a lot to say about Black Americans. And so we never hear what Black Americans think about them. Well, I don't speak for all Black Americans, but a lot of Black Americans probably would agree with me. So I'm going to tell you what a lot of Black Americans think about Africans and Caribbean immigrants, and specifically Jamaicans, because they're the ones who do most of the talking. But anybody who would like to hear what we think, you can listen. First of all, Black Americans don't think very much about anybody because our business is here with white Americans. So we think about white Americans in reference to how we live in America, the employment, the education, the health care, the standard of living that we have in the United States. We work interchangeably with white Americans. So if we're going to think about anything, it's how we're going to interact with the dominant society for the best outcomes for ourselves. So that's first and foremost. White Americans are the people that we live most closely with. They're the ones that we do business with the most. And as people who have to operate as adults and not as children, we have to deal with the people who are making decisions and people that have impact on our lives. And that would be white people. So we don't think very much about Black immigrants. I think I can say with a great deal of clarity that Black Americans are confused more than anything else about Black immigrants. Confused in the sense that we are taught that when you go to somebody else's house, you use good manners. The same applies when you go to somebody else's country. You use good manners. You are respectful to the people. I don't believe that any Black Americans, and especially not any that I would consider raised properly, would think that they should go to somebody else's country and start lecturing the people in the country about who they are, where they came from, and who they should be. That would be considered very poor manners by the majority of Black Americans, even the ones who don't agree with me about most things. That you are exhibiting very poor taste to go into somebody else's country and start telling them how they should behave, especially when you don't have the intelligence or the knowledge of those people. You don't know their history, you don't know their culture, you don't know what has impacted them in that country, but yet and still you are an authority on those people, but you don't know how to make things work in your own country. So Black Americans would be quite confused by that. And I'm speaking for a lot of Black Americans. I'm not trying to speak for everybody, but I think a vast majority of Black Americans would be confused by that because the vast majority of Black Americans would think that you're out of order. And that is what we see from a lot of Black immigrants who come to this country. Also, Black Americans would be wondering why you can't make things work in your country. Why are you here? That's the main thing that you hear when you talk to Black Americans about Black immigrants. One of the first or second things, or maybe even the third thing that the Black American is going to say is, what are they doing here? What are they even doing here in the first place? See, that's a question that we never get answered. Oh, they came here because they wanted a better way of life. Well, since you know so much, why can't you make a better way of life where you came from? You understand? That's what a mature thinking person would wonder. Since you know so much, why can't you make things work in your homeland where you are in a majority? That makes sense to a Black American. It doesn't make sense to a lot of Black Americans that you would leave a place that's rich in natural and mineral resources and where you are in the majority running the government, and you have to leave that place and come somewhere else to make a better living for yourself. And then you come there with the attitude that you know something that the people there don't know. And so then the average Black Americans would wonder, well, why didn't you apply that knowledge to where you came from? And then you have the nerve to tell us that where you came from was a great place. And you have strong family values, even though you have the largest child abandonment record of anybody in the world. Real point of interest for Black Americans would be the comparisons that these Black immigrants try to make with Black Americans. And I'm saying Black immigrants just to simplify things. I know they don't refer to themselves as Black, but in America, they are referred to as Black. But that is a point of interest and contention for Black Americans because it is insulting almost to a fault that you would compare yourselves as immigrants who came here. Most of y'all had some money when you came here, even though you lie about it. You had some money to get here. There is no way you can get to the United States from these shithole countries y'all come from without having money. So you have money, and you have, a lot of times, you do have some type of education, and you have a decent work ethic. Some of y'all have a decent work ethic. Most of you don't, because we hear now that a lot of y'all are on welfare. But you're trying to compare yourselves with what little education and what little job skills you have with the poorest of Black Americans and sometimes white Americans. You don't compare yourselves to the elite Black Americans. You don't compare yourselves to the ballers and the bosses. You want to go to the most marginalized people and put them down. That's very offensive to Black Americans. We have been through a tragedy in this country, and all of us didn't handle that tragedy the same way. Some of us handled it better than others. And even now, even though we do have opportunities, some of us still handle what our families went through better than others. Some of us are more successful than others. And we have compassion for each other, which y'all don't seem to have for your people. And that's how come you know they're not like us. Y'all are not like us. We are different kinds of people. And we had to learn that the hard way. But that's offensive to Black Americans because we don't look down on people because they might have a weakness, because they may have emotional issues or physical disabilities or mental issues, or because they just don't have the same get up and go as other people. Some people work every day and they're called the working poor in America. Everybody doesn't have the same gifts. And even with that, our poverty rate is lower than any of y'all's. So that's offensive to Black Americans for you immigrants to be coming over here trying to look down on people just because you have a job and some janky degree that's probably fake. And another thing about Black Americans, we don't have a white savior complex. We don't expect the white man to save us. We work with the white man so that we can all do better. We get taken advantage of more than anything else. Our culture is America's #1 export. When we do something, it works, it sells. Black American culture sells. Y'all are the ones that these Black immigrants are the ones that don't have a productive culture because Black Americans keep asking them, where is your Beyonce? Where's your Michael Jackson? Where's your Martin Luther King? Where's your Rosa Parks? Where's your Harriet Tubman? Where's your Lewis Latimer? Where's your Dr. Gladys West? Where's your Elijah Muhammad? Where's your George Washington Carver? Where's your Booker T. Washington? Where are your people like that have really made a contribution to the world, not just to your country? And I could go on and on. I'm just getting started. We have 100 and something HBCUs that were founded after slavery. My HBCU was founded in 1867, 2 years after slavery ended. And there are those that were founded before then. Where are your colleges that you can get world-class training? If we would press the issue of what you have done, not only to make the world a better place, just make your homeland a better place, you will come up lacking. That's how come Black Americans do not like to have this discussion with Africans. Back in the day, and Caribbeans, back in the day, Black people used to say, well, just ignore them. Just don't pay any attention to them. They didn't want the fight. They did not want the fight because it's considered in poor taste, tacky. But the envelope has been pushed to the point that we're going to have the conversation. We're going to have the conversation. And the last point I'm going to make in this video, because I don't want the video to be too long, but this isn't all that I have to say on this subject, so I will take it up at a later date. But the last thing that I want to say, and I want to make this very, very clear to Black immigrants, Black Americans don't care what white people think about us. We don't care. We are embedded in the governing document of this country called the Constitution of the United States of America. So it doesn't matter what somebody living in a trailer who hasn't paid his electric bill thinks about us, nor the billionaire who doesn't care about anybody but himself. We don't care what any of these people think about us. We have our own independence and our own agency. You care what they think about you because you don't have a place here. Basically, y'all are just over here in the way. And you are expendable by the mere fact that the President of the United States just summarily decided, I'm going to end your temporary protected status. I'm going to end your naturalization citizenship. I'm going through your immigration papers. And if there's any mistake that's been made on your immigration papers, your ass is out of here. So you have to be concerned about what the white people think about you. So one of the biggest challenges to Black immigrants to the United States is to know the difference between our place and your place. Okay, so I'm going to end it for now, but I will take this up at a later date. And I would like for y'all to let me know what you think about this video, and have a good day.